sheltered family, good to see you and welcome to yet another episode. My name is Lena Kendi for those who are new, and welcome. This is home for you, and be expectant that you're going to experience a lot of growth while at it. And this is where we talk about everything relationships and growth in excellence through them. So, yes, you're welcome. Let's get right into the episode today. And today we are going to be talking about boundaries. Boundaries while relating with either your romantic partner, with people around you. And the one thing we should correct while we are at it right now is that boundaries are not a wall around you to push people away. Sometimes it's mistook to be, or rather, it's mistaken to be people are pushing away everybody else around them, and so they're giving themselves boundaries, or they're creating boundaries, which is completely not true. For me, I would take like boundaries are an invitation for healthy, thriving relationships. Why do I say that? When I create a boundary, and or when you create a boundary, in short, what you're trying to do is you're telling people it is I love to have you around. I love that we relate. I love that we have a rapport. And for us to be healthy around each other, for us to ensure that we are getting this relationship to the point where we both thrive, even as we relate with each other. These are the things I can take. These are the things I cannot take. These are the things I am okay with, and these are the things I'm not okay with. And all of this is with the intention of ensuring that we have a healthy relationship. We have a healthy, thriving relationship. And so when you understand that, even as you're setting boundaries, you're not just pushing people away. It's not a wall that you're creating so that people don't get to you. It's more of you saying, this is what I would love, even as I relate with you. For example, if you have a boundary where you tell people, this is something I would not comfortably or gladly want to have a conversation with you around, and they don't cross that, you realize you are going to have a very smooth working or relating relationship. But when you talk to someone and they cross a boundary that you had told them that you're not okay with them crossing, it's first off creates it's an indication of disrespect. First off, because you had already told this person, I cannot, and I'm not okay with you saying or doing some so and so thing. So when we create boundaries, it stems from a place of self-worth and self-awareness. Okay, so because if I know who I am, and if I know the things that I'm not okay with, the things that I don't appreciate about me or around me, and I communicate them to the people I am relating with, definitely in most cases, it comes from a place of, I know who I am. I know my worth. I know the things I would take in, and I know the things I would not take in, right? So it comes from you understanding that what you have within you is so valuable, and the behavior of others does or does not show that value, or does not depict that value. So whenever you create a boundary, and this is a thing we should all embrace, is I am trying, in most cases, I have already internalized within myself, I understand who I am. And now that I know who I am, and I have truly accepted, these are my do's, these are my don'ts, these are the limits, these are not my limits. Like, when you have already had boundaries around you, it's an indication and a clear show of you know your worth, you know your value. And when you communicate them to somebody who you're relating with, you are clearly telling them, you know what, these are the things I can take in, and these are the things that I cannot. These are the things I would agree to do, and these are the things I cannot. And so if their behavior or if how they treat you is contrary to, or it crosses your limit or your boundary, that shows you that the value in you, they don't see it, and therefore their behavior is not portraying that. And it's okay for you to pull away. It's okay for you to confront the situation and be like, you know what, I said this and this, but you didn't agree with me. So if you don't feel like we're going to work around the things I've already said to you that I do not appreciate, then at that moment you make sure that you can distance yourself. Because the one thing that is very, very unfortunate about us as human being is that whenever someone dictates a boundary around them, we tend to take it, some people tend to take it lightly and be like, it's not that serious, it's not that deep, I was just kidding. Well, you may be kidding, but you're kidding in a way that is disrespectful to me, in a way that is not enhancing the beauty of this relationship, and in a way that is making me feel like you do not understand that I need to safeguard me. And that's where people come in and misjudge and confuse boundaries to be walls around people, making them not want to relate. No, on the contrary, boundaries come in as they stem from a place of, I know I want to have a healthy relationship with this person. And so because this is what I want to have, what are the things that are going to water that? What are the things that are going to facilitate that? And so just because I am safeguarding this so that I don't lash out on you, so that I don't act crazy, it means I respect us enough. It means I regard this relationship highly than you may ever think, right? So there's a point I'd put down here, and I'm gonna read it. It says that self-worth begins with self-awareness. This begins when you know who you are, and this means you have to know you. Other people don't need to understand or agree with your boundary in order to respect it. And this has to stick in the minds and hearts of each one of us as human beings. I may have a boundary that seemingly looks like it's crazy to you, but it's my boundary. And it doesn't have to make sense to you for you to respect it. It doesn't have to fulfill or look like the things you agree or you don't agree with for you to allow me and respect that for me. So anytime as a human being you realize that you're beginning to feel like, I think it's not that deep, it's not that serious, why are they being all over the whole boundary thing or limitation, or it's because they want the best. And I would love us to agree and see from that light that this person, they're creating a boundary because they want a healthy, thriving relationship with you. They don't want, they are not trying to create the boundary so that now you're not able to get to them. And it's okay if you don't get to relate with someone to a certain level. Just because you feel comfortable saying some things around me, it doesn't mean that I'm comfortable hearing or having such conversations with you. Like I remember of someone most recently, right about 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the time of shooting this episode, yeah. This person was like, we had a conversation about around relationships, and I wasn't trying to have that conversation, and he pushed and pushed and pushed, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop you right there, because I don't think you and I are in any place where we can have such conversations. And real one thing I saw, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, blah blah blah. I was like, no, totally okay, but I needed to communicate that boundary and limit to you. And then after that, after we hung up the call, he follows up with an SMS, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I crossed that line, blah 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 blah. I'm like, well, it's okay not to assume that just because you've had conversations, and with this person, basically the conversations we had, they were not even that deep. We just worked together at some point, and we always talked about work, about basic things, general things, environment, politics, work, and stuff like that. And for some reason, some people don't understand, just because we can have a whole lengthy conversation around work and environment and the government and the economy and faith or anything else, it doesn't mean that I can have the same lengthy conversation with you about my sexuality, or about who I'm relating with, or about my net worth. Like, those things are somehow sensitive to people, and it's okay for you to ask someone if they're comfortable, because the one thing I know about that person is that most probably we may not remain to at the same place like we were, even if our conversations were always about general stuff and nothing personal to each other. Yeah. So sometimes people may not get why you don't want to talk about it, but it's even with the growth of relationships, it's a gradual thing. We don't just wake up one day and we're beginning to open up our dirty secrets or stuff like that, right? It takes time to grow and trust each other and feel that we are safe around each other for us to be able to and experience each other and have certain conversations with each other. Because when it comes to boundaries, you have to communicate. And first off, you communicated to this person from the word go. And sometimes you may not have that when, and this is also should come from the place of, don't take offense just because someone crossed a boundary that you had not communicated. Immediately you sense that someone is crossing a boundary or a limit that you'd not have them cross, make sure to quickly counter it and do not entertain the thing to go on. Like, I remember sometimes back, I think after I was done with high school, and there was this motorbike guy that we had known each other for a while. We would talk, general conversations. He was a friend of my friend, so we got to know each other. And I remember he came. I called him because I needed to get to somewhere, and I called him so that he can give me a ride on his motorbike. Not give me a ride for free though, just like be my guy to transport me. And he came, and I remember that day I was home alone, and he realized I was home alone. So we used to say hi with a certain kind of handshake that was kind of masculine. And that day, that was my absolute expectation, because I had not created that avenue for him to feel like he could hug me or anything. And I remember him pulling me, and he held me in an inappropriate manner. And I remember feeling so hurt, feeling so disrespected, feeling like I was gonna, I don't know. It's really felt disgusting. And I remember pulling away, giving him that look and telling him, you know what? That was wrong, and you're not going to give me the right. So I had him turn around, and from that day we quit talking. Like, up until today, which is like a couple years later, we, even if we were to meet on the roads, we never even say hi. Like, it's, you realize him thinking that it was okay without consciously thinking that this may not be okay with this person. He messed up a potential friendship that would have grown out of it. And I remember, and one thing I am like always even proud about myself when it comes to that is that those time back then I was young, and I didn't even know like what it means to create boundaries, blah blah blah. But I remember knowing that this is something I cannot take, and therefore I am going to speak up. And I spoke up, and from that day it commanded respect. That's the one thing I love about it, is that it commanded respect. And that's wonderful. That's also makes this person know that, well, others may be okay with such, but this person is not okay with that. And it's brings up respect as you relate with people. And it's so bad whenever we create boundaries. Okay, for example, if there's an area of my life that I know I am quite vulnerable in, or it's like a weak area of my life, and I'm creating a boundary around that to safeguard us and me, it's so bad that people tend to weaponize that, and they use it against you, because they know, well, they most probably they're creating this boundary because they cannot handle the thing that's gonna come with it. So they tend to want to weaponize that, and it's not the best humanly thing to do. And it's okay, it's completely fine for you to speak up, because first off, these boundaries, once you create them, they are most probably the best thing you will ever do to make sure and to see a relationship thrive. And because when you take, even if it's in a personal relationship, when rather a romantic relationship, when you create a boundary where you communicate with your partner and tell them, when it comes to, maybe for example, conflict resolution, I may tend to get overheated. You need to understand yourself. And that's why we began by saying, when you've understood who you are, how you react to certain things, how you deal with life issues. For example, if you're not good at conflict resolution, the best thing to do is make sure first off you communicate that at some point I may need some time away. If we are in the middle of a disagreement or a conflict, I may not be able to handle it with the best version of me there. So it's okay for you to let me take some time away from you, even if it's walk, take some fresh air, or go lock myself up in a room for a while to cool off, so that when I come back and we are handling this thing, we are bringing our best versions at the table, where we both understand that it's not me against you, it's you and I on the same page, on the same team, against the issue that we have at hand. Yeah. So That is clearly stated, and that's why communication is key, even with boundaries. Don't just assume that they should know just because there are certain things that are your values or others. The aeroplanes, never mind. So I was saying that just because uh someone has some certain values, it don't assume, and they know you have certain values, don't assume that they gonna know that you that the so and so thing you can take, and this and the other thing you cannot take. It is so wrong of you to assume that people just should know. We should don't do that. If you have a boundary, communicate it. If you have a thing you're not comfortable, communicate it. If there's a limitation that you don't expect one to go beyond, communicate it. Because once you communicate and the person still goes ahead to break or to cross the boundary, then you have every reason to walk away. You have every reason to cut them off. You have every reason to safeguard yourself, because you know, once this goes wrong, I am bound to lashing out. I'm bound to being rude and toxic and, you know, stuff like that. So clearly, boundaries are essential. So have boundaries, have your non negotiables. Don't let people assume that it's everything that they can do or be about while they're with you. And that is a clear indication of self-awareness and self-worth. And with that, we come to the end of this conversation. I'm so glad you stayed all the way. You are such a special blessing in my life, and it's always a pleasure to hang out with you and have this amazing conversation. So please do make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. You're welcome in our team and in our family. If you're new here, we love it that you could come and hang out with us. So until the next episode, I love you and stay blessed, stay amazing, stay prayed up, stay growing. Love you. Bye.